I'm just glad so many people came out and turned up to watch a discussion about education reform. I think when people are passionate about discussing education, that's a great thing. I just came to see what questions people had and how Michelle and the rest of the panel would address those questions, and just the fact that so many people are here on a Thursday night to meet Michelle and to discuss education reform, I think is a good way of communicating. She's definitely passionate about education reform, and I think that anybody who's passionate about education needs to discuss education with as many people as possible. I think that the discussion about charter schools is a discussion that will be had in the state of Alabama. It's come up before, and I don't think there is a clear answer on how that's going in our state, but I think that the conversation was definitely on the table tonight, and there were some thought-provoking questions. I think it was all productive. I think everyone had great, passionate questions, and so I'm just glad everyone had a chance to ask the questions they asked.
It was interesting. I was very impressed by George Parker, the gentleman from Washington, D.C., the former school teacher, was probably the most impressive person there. And I certainly agree that we've got extremes on one side and the other, but I don't, we need to find middle ground. I'm not sure that tonight was going to help us find a whole lot of middle ground.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm 70 years old and I know when somebody's peeing on my leg and telling me it's raining. Well, it was, I would have loved to have specifically got into some things. For instance, I know Students First was very supportive and put out a press release right after the Alabama Accountability Act was passed. I would have loved to gotten into some numbers and show them that it didn't work. It never was going to work. I mean, it's just illogical. It's based on a fantasy world. And so when we're promoting something like that, that doesn't, you got that, and I'm sitting there listening and saying, you did this, and this is what happened, it makes me a little dubious of some things. And then the other thing I thought was kind of funny, really, someone said, we have to have transparency with our school financing. And I would have left to said, okay, show me the list of the 24,000 members that you claim you have in Alabama, because I just don't believe that at all. And show me who's funding Students First. If y'all are all for transparency, show us where you get your money.
My name is Tamani Beck. I am actually an 8th grade English teacher at a middle school in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I came here tonight to, of course, get more involved in the conversation, the education reform conversation. I've only been teaching this is actually my second year teaching, so for me, there are a lot of things that are changing in the system, and I want to be a part of that change full force, if you will. So. After going to the town hall, I think that there change is coming in Alabama. I feel that it's coming. I feel that it's near. I feel I am a proponent of school choice. I feel like kids should have the option of going to a school that, or parents and families should have the option of sending their kids to whatever school is most beneficial for that kid. As a teacher and a kid and a person who came from a low-income environment, I didn't necessarily go to all of the best schools, and I would say it was because of phenomenal teachers that I am the woman I am and that I'm in the place that I'm in. Because of those phenomenal teachers and some of the schools that I attended, I decided to become a teacher. So that's pretty much some of my thoughts about tonight. I feel like there's a lot more discussion that has to be had, and I feel like, kind of like they were saying, that a lot of parties have to come to the table in order for that discussion to take place, but I want to be a part of that conversation, and that's why, of course, I came tonight. So I think a lot of what Chancellor Ree was talking about in terms of how some of the decisions she made weren't necessarily looked at as great decisions for the Washington, D.C. school systems. And I also think that a lot of what Dr. Perry talked about in terms of kids being kids being placed into this box of not being able to succeed and not being able to go into the different fields and sectors and that the world has to offer, all based off the education that they receive. Which is once again why I'm a proponent of school choice, and I think that it is very vital for parents and families to have that choice. I think that kids should be able to should not be placed into box based off zip code. That's like one of the most like horrendous things that happens, and kids sometimes don't even know what they're capable of until you have a phenomenal teacher who's driven by just their love of kids, their love of seeing a kid's their face light up when they understand something that they didn't even know at one point in time they could. So I'm driven in my field. I'm driven, like I said, to be a part of the conversation, and I can't wait to see where education goes from this point in the state of Alabama.
Okay, it was a really exciting evening. There were a lot of wonderful ideas put forth, and generally I think the group of people who were here were supportive of the discussion. We didn't have total agreement about everything, but good discussion as far as considering the ideas of what needs to be done with the education. I think a couple of points that I'd make. One is that I'm not sure this was advertised as widely as it might have been. I was disappointed that we didn't just have the place absolutely packed. It should be packed, and it should be in a venue that's 10 times the size of this one. Everybody in the state really needs to be in this discussion. And that is my second point, is I hope that you can get a lot of this into the news. It needs to be a part of the news, as probably a lot more than some of the other things like Miley and Zimmerman and those things that the news likes to get everyone's attention with. This is something far more important to every family in America. I think I said earlier that I was looking forward to seeing Michelle Rhee, having only read about her before. I don't think I even have seen her on television. And she's an exciting person. She's combative, and she's to the point, but very, very bright. And we're lucky to have her putting her mind and her talents to such an important subject. The other two gentlemen, Dr. Perry, he was inspiring to see that somebody that good is in charge of a school. I would, if I had children of school age, I'd be part of that, whatever he said, 5,000 people who are trying to get into his school. And
I am energized to continue the school finance reform that I'm interested in. I want more transparency. It was good to hear the panelists' discussion on you need to know how the money is spent in order to figure out if it's being spent wisely. That's difficult here in Alabama. I was real interested in the discussion about school choice, since we don't really have any here in Alabama, and I think it's coming, and the more we know, the better prepared we'll be. Yeah, I really appreciated them answering my question. I think that there is so much money in public education that it's really important to know how it's spent. I wish that the folks outside had come in when they were invited. I think it's always a better discussion when you have various voices represented at the table.